after 7 people were shot Monday evening.
An investigation going on in Oakland right now, a homicide investigation. A man was shot and
people are in the hospital with gunshot wounds in Oakland, California.
Welcome back to another episode of War in Cali. In 2008, Oakland had a population just over 400,000. That year, the city recorded 7,905 violent crimes. That breaks down to nearly 1,968 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. There were 125 homicides and over 3,300 robberies, more than 4,100 aggravated assaults, along with over 21,000 property crimes in a single year. Also more than 8,000 car thefts alone. That's over 2,000 stolen vehicles per 100,000 residents. Oakland was hit by crime all over, and East and West Oakland felt it the worst. And in 2008, Oakland's crime was a normal occurrence. That summer of 2008, bodies were dropping left and right, and 2 men were racking up the bodies in a 45-day span. Dejan and Delonzo, they were active teenagers in the streets. By 2008, Dejan was 17, and Delonzo, he was 18. Police will list their crimes as murder for hire. Delonzo was charged with the murder of a man named Zaire Washington, who was 24, on June 30th, 2008. He was killed in the 8000 block of MacArthur Boulevard on his mother's front steps. He was standing with a group of friends when a silver SUV pulled up and parked across the street. A man got out the car and began shooting at the crowd. According to court documents, a second man got out and the first man yelled out, "Get him," while the second man chased Zaire down the alley. Zaire was shot twice in the back and also in the butt. One witness said one of the shooters had a gap in his teeth, which Delonzo had. According to court documents, Zaire was scheduled to testify at a July 21st, 2008 hearing in a trial against a man named Marcus Jones. Marcus was accused of shooting Zaire 2 years before, and Zaire had identified Marcus as the shooter. Marcus was also Delonzo's half-brother. Marcus eventually pled no contest to assault with a deadly weapon in 2006 in the shooting of Zaire. Both Dejan and Delonzo were also charged with the murder of a man named Eric Ford. He was 22. He died on July 1st, 2008, while sitting in a car at a gas station on 35th Avenue in Oakland. It is alleged that Delonzo shot Eric while Dejan watched his back. Witnesses said that Eric had received a phone call from someone who was supposed to meet him that night. Records showed that the phone number of a woman was last to call him. According to testimony during this hearing, that woman was Delonzo's ex-girlfriend. She later testified during the hearing. The woman called Delonzo a liar and a cheater and described how he took her phone that night. She was initially arrested on suspicion of murder on July 9th, 2008, after police connected the phone call to the shooting. She called Delonzo from jail after her arrest. She was crying and upset about her charges. "Don't worry about nothing," Delonzo said to her in a jail-recorded phone call, which was later played in court. "You be cool. You'll be out of there, so don't trip." Court documents state that Eric's death was a murder for hire, and that both Delonzo and Dejan allegedly collected a payment for it. A third man also allegedly shot at a witness named Norris days later on July 8th, 2008, at the direction of Delonzo. Prosecutors alleged although Norris was not injured in the shooting, he later died in an unrelated stabbing in 2011. Both Delonzo and Dejan were also charged with the death of a man named Richard Carter. He was 30 years old. He was shot and killed on July 31st, 2008, in the 2000 block of MacArthur Boulevard near Cannon Avenue during an attempted robbery and carjacking. Richard was walking out of a liquor store when he was confronted by 2 men. A witness saw one of the 2 shoot the gun into the passenger window of the car. Dejan was also accused of killing 2 people within 4 hours of each on August 12, 2008 and August 13, 2008. Keenan Hall, who was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in the 800 block of 45th Street at about 9:30 p.m. on August 12, 2008. 3 different guns were used in the death of Keenan. It was 2 .40 caliber handguns and a .223 rifle. According to a gun expert who testified, one gun was found beneath Keenan's body and was covered in so much blood it wasn't functional, the expert said. Less than 1 hour after an alleged carjacking of a man's Cadillac, the same car was drove into the 900 block of Kirkham Way in West Oakland, where a man named James was killed. DNA found on the steering wheel of that car matched Dejan. Court documents will later state that James Thomas was 18 years old. He was killed in the 900 block of Kirkham Way in West Oakland by Dejan allegedly. A witness saw 3 men get out of a car and start shooting at another car, where 2 other men besides James, being Shannon and Roger, were sitting. James was shot in the head and later died. Shannon, although struck multiple times by the bullets, managed to drive away. He survived the incident. The car was shot 92 times with bullets. A non-police evidence technician testified that there were so many bullet shell casings and evidence on the street that they ran out of plastic number evidence place cards. Instead, they had to fold pieces of paper over the evidence items. DeJean was involved in another shooting that occurred on August 17, 2008, only a few days after the fatal shootings, police wrote in a statement. Police will say that DeJean was shot by another victim that he shot in an incident that he dropped his pistol, which was recovered by the police. Ballistic tests years later identified DeJean's pistol as one of the guns that was used in both of the murders of Keenan and also James. By the time all the other murders were connected to DeJean by 2013, he was already serving a 13-year sentence for a botched robbery on August 17th of 2008. And DeLonzo, he was in custody since 2015. 26 people testified during a preliminary hearing, in which a judge said the key witnesses were credible. This held DeJean and DeLonzo to answer on a raft of the charges against him. The charges, which included 5 murders, 2 attempted murders, carjackings, along with serious gang and gun enhancements. This could have sent the man to jail with life without parole if they were convicted. But their cases didn't go as many thought they would go, leaving many families in an uproar. The trajectory of this case changed drastically when DA Pamela Price was elected. Many stated that DeLonzo's case was a roller coaster since it came into spotlight, when Alameda County DA Pamela Price attempted to broker a 15-year plea deal for DeLonzo.
The County District Attorney Pamela Price, her office has dropped 2 murder charges against an accused triple murderer. DeLonzo Logwood was charged with killing 3 people back in 2015. This morning, he remains in custody charged with only 1 count of murder. This case made headlines when Price offered a 15-year plea deal in exchange for pleading guilty to 1 of the murders. The plea deal was rejected by a judge. Well, now Price says the judge agreed to drop 2 of the murder charges. Logwood was already served 14 years. The DA says this case was in limbo under her predecessor, Nancy O'Malley, under charges filed by her. Logwood was facing 75 years to life if he was convicted. Price said O'Malley overcharged and mismanaged the case. Price released a statement yesterday saying, in part, the court's rejection of that proposed plea agreement in March created an unexpected barrier to our efforts to resolve the case. Today, the judge accepted our evaluation of the evidence in the case and dismissed the 2 murder charges to match the evidence in the case. We're learning attorneys on both sides of this will return to court today.
This dropped the murder charges to voluntary manslaughter. Alameda County Superior Court Judge Mark McCannon rejected Pamela Price's deal and set the case for trial.
Mark McCannon is a former DA who expressed concerns about the deal, citing the safety of the community. He will consider whether the deal will go through and will sentence the defendant in March. Henry Lee.
In response, DA Pamela Price and her defense counsel tried to have Judge McCannon removed from the case, alleging bias.
Back in 2008, Oakland police say then 18-year-old DeLonzo Logwood shot and killed Washington and 2 other men within a month's time in 2008. But on Thursday, in Alameda County Superior Court, DA Pamela Price cut a deal with Logwood, who pleaded no contest of voluntary manslaughter in just 1 of the 3 killings. That means Logwood could be released from jail in just 3 years because of time served. He could have been sentenced to at least 75 years to life had he been convicted of 3 murders.
I don't think anyone in the country in a DA's office has ever done a plea bargain of this magnitude. It is shocking and it is scary that this man will be back on the street.
Price ran on a social justice platform and promised alternatives to incarceration. KTVU legal analyst Michael Cardoza says Price may have pushed the needle too far.
I can't believe that the voters of Alameda expected her to do something like this when you have someone that murdered 3 people despite their age.
In a statement, Price said in part, Mr. Logwood has been incarcerated for 14 years since 2009 and will serve additional years under the plea deal. Mr. Logwood has expressed extreme remorse for his behavior as a teenager and readily agreed to publicly apologize to the families impacted by his demeanor and to the residents of Alameda County. In court, Logwood admitted to fatally shooting Eric Ford at a gas station near 35th and Quigley in what police said was a murder for hire. In exchange for his plea, the DA dismissed special circumstances and the 2 other murder charges. One was was the killing of Zaire Washington, who was shot weeks before he was to testify in a separate shooting case.
When you kill a witness, that cuts right to the heart of the criminal justice system.
In the end, DeJohn was convicted of 1 count of manslaughter with a gun enhancement, and both men were officially released from prison in 2025. With 5 murders, multiple gun enhancements, and gang enhancements, carjackings, and robberies, both men walked free doing bids of around 10 years, which could have been life. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, hype, comment, and subscribe.